This goal setting toolkit Airtable template, which you can find in the description of the video, is based on the latest scientific evidence in terms of how to set goals and pursue them over a specific period of time. Some time ago, I created a Notion version of this template as well as a Coda template of the goal setting toolkit. You can find them below in the description as well. And this is the Airtable version of that system. If you enjoy a more structured view of data, together with some nice interfaces that allow you to visualize data easily, then this can be beneficial to you, and it is built in Airtable. A free plan of Airtable is enough to use this system. And you can see here there are different tables. These are at the foundation of the system where you can keep track of the goals. Each goal will have a macro actions or multiple ones. You can also track goals over time, and the creation of goal trackings is automated based on the days that you select when it comes to pursuing that goal. You can generate random rewards just to keep things a bit interesting. Have a reward list in terms of what rewards to select when the random reward is positive, and there is a usage guide that guides you through all of these steps, where you can find this video as well as other documentation on things that you need to know to maintain the system and to understand how it works. So in this video we are looking at all of these components and how to properly use this Airtable base for goal setting using the scientific evidence. And finally, once you use all of these, you can also visualize, as I mentioned, all the data in Airtable interfaces where you can see the current goals. You can switch between those and see all the details here. You can also change data directly in here. You can track notes. You can create random rewards directly from this interface and see all the trackings over time. You can also see charts, so visual graphics of the data in here, and you can see the trackings over time, the total completed trackings, how many trackings you logged in the system, as well as the trackings completed by week, to see a bit of your average tendency when it comes to pursuing the goals and how many trackings you actually do and how many of them are missed. And that will then inform your choices in the future in terms of deciding how many goals you can pursue at any single time and how to properly structure your environment and mindset around pursuing the goals that you intend to pursue. Once you copy the goal setting toolkit base to your Airtable workspace, you will see this exact view here where there is data at the top. That's where all the tables live and the views of those tables. And there is automations. There are some automations that I'm gonna explain later in the video. And then you have interfaces that are those graphs that I briefly showed already a few minutes ago. So all the action happens really in the data tab, where you can find all the tables and the views of the table right here on the left-hand side. The first table in the system is goals, and that's the table that contains all the goals that you currently pursue, that you have pursued in the past, or that you will pursue in the future. So at the beginning, when starting to use this template, you might jot down all the goals that you have in here in the all goals view, where you just write them down or copy paste them from an external system where you have been logging them. And this can become the place where you have all your goals stored. And then you go through the process of prioritizing them, deciding what goal are you pursuing at this time. Ideally, it is one goal. It could be two goals, maybe at a time, if they are not too dependent from each other. And in that case, you can change the status of that goal to current pursuit. Then you can see here that each goal has days of pursuit. And when you hover over the names of some of these fields, you will find a description of what that is for. So for example here, conclude writing the first full draft of the book. Let's expand this to see those fields better. The days of pursuit is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it means from a process perspective, on these days, I will work on the pursuit of this goal, on specific actions that will allow me to pursue this goal. So that's 5 days per week. That's a formula here, depending on how many days you selected. Then you can select the start date, so when the goal pursuit begins. The duration in weeks, by default, it can be 12 weeks as a goal cycle. Sometimes goals might stretch across time for longer, and in that case, you can just change the number of weeks here. And that will adjust the end date accordingly, because the end date is calculated as start date plus duration in weeks. Then here is how many hours per day are you going to allocate to the pursuit of that goal. So that you can enter a number, approximate number, and the total days is a formula that calculates how many days are actually involved in the pursuit of this goal, according to the data that you entered above. And these formulas are modifiable. So once you have your own copy of this base, you can always go ahead and add the field if you so wish. Also to see how the formulas are calculated. If you need to make any changes, you can do so. Then there is the major blockage. That is, what are the obstacles that you preview in the pursuit of your goal? There are for sure things that might block your way to the achievement of that goal. And that's why you want to jot them down carefully, just freely first, just to make them appear in front of you and lay down anything that's in your mind that can prevent you from achieving that goal. Then you can write down the tracking notes. So how are you going to track the performance of this goal? Is it a process-oriented performance where you track, for example, for book writing, your performance metric is time spent writing per day, or is it more output focused? For example, the word output per day or the pages written per week. So you can define that exactly to understand how you can measure success, because when you have a clear measure of success, then you know exactly what to track and how to assess your performance on that goal. The tracking progress is a formula, it is a percentage, and it is calculated based on the successful trackings. That means the days where you actually did the action required to achieve the goal, divided by the total number of days that we saw here. Date completed is automatically populated via an automation that we see in the next chapter of this video. Then there are micro actions. So for each goal, there might be one or multiple micro actions that will allow you to achieve that goal. So for concluding the full first draft of the book, I might enter a micro action here. If it's not present in the system, I can just type it here and create it directly. So I'm going to create this micro action now. And then there are the goal action tracking. This is the actual tracking of your actions that you can do on a daily basis. These are created automatically based on the days that you select up here. Every day there is an automation that runs and that creates an action tracking if the day is today. So for example, today is Friday, because here it's Friday is present, the automation would create an action tracking in the system here so that you can easily track the action, if it is done or not done, take any notes about it, and without having to create a new row every day. And then random rewards, which is just a button that you can click from the interface to generate a random reward. If it is head, it is reward yourself. If it is tail, it is do not reward yourself, just continue working on that goal, just to keep the gamification of a system a bit present in here. So in here then you can see all the goals in different formats. Here you can see all goals. You can always filter, you can group, but these views are preset just to avoid having to do the setup of these views. These views are already set up, so if you want an additional view, you can always create a new view from here, selecting from the available options depending on your plan as well. You can see them by status, where you can see not now, current pursuit, achieved, cancelled, and you can move things around as well here. And you can see the current pursuit, that is a gallery view that is filtered by the goals, where the status is current pursuit, so the current goals that you are pursuing. So this table is really the foundation of the whole system, and the other tables depend on this table. So after goals, there are micro actions, and micro actions is where you can see all the micro actions that you add over time for each goal. So there is a by goal view here, where you can see each goal is a toggle that you can expand. You can also change the goal name directly here. You can see the goal status and change it directly from this view. And then within that goal group, you can see all the micro actions that you have. So conclude writing, I can see there is one action that is write for 1 hour before 12 p.m. If I want to open that action, I can click on open, add notes in terms of what this entails, how am I going to do it, the setup, what success looks like, what failure looks like. So the more detailed you can be in these components of the system, the better, the more clear your mind is and your mindset around what to do to pursue and achieve that goal over time. And once you have that vision laid out in front of you, it can be much easier to actually achieve that goal and to do the work to achieve it, because then you have laid out everything in front of you as if you can visualize them in front of you, and hence you have a clear path to follow as opposed to wandering around aimlessly. The goal action tracking table is where you can see all your action trackings every day. As I mentioned before, these are created automatically via an automation that I'm going to explain later. And here you can see all the trackings of today, if any. In this case, there is no tracking. All the trackings of the week. And you can see here, the structure of this table contains a name formula field that is automatically generated just to avoid having you to type anything, because this is not that important. It is a concatenation of the date plus the goal name. And then you have the goal that you can select from here. You can only select one goal. So if I want to change it, I need to do this and then select it. But this as well is set by the automation. So in a day-to-day operations of this system, you don't need to select this because it is already selected for you. Then if you want, however, you can select a micro action that you did, because one goal might have multiple micro actions. And if you want to be specific in tracking, you can select this here, micro action. You can select a specific goal, that the specific action that you did that day. And then if it is done, you check it off. If it is not done, you leave it empty. And if you want to write notes about reasons for why not doing it, or your feeling state, your energy levels, what you think, what you feel, whatever is in your mind regarding this tracking and today's action towards the pursuit of that goal, you can do this here. And although it may feel a bit burdensome in the moment to do this, it might be very useful to get insights in the future once you are at the end of this goal and achieved it or failed it, or you are reviewing your goals. Then you have all that documentation present in the system, and you can learn from it, and you can then take actions according to that content. And the weekday is automatic as well. This is a formula. It calculates the weekday based on the date. You can also see the action trackings in a calendar view here. The random rewards table has all the random rewards that you can generate from the interface. So when you go to the interface here, in the current goal overview, you can select the goal. These are only the current goals are going to show up here. For example, conclude writing the full first draft of the book. If you do an action tracking and you want to create a random reward, then you can click this button here, and this will create a new random reward row that you can find here directly as a feedback. And then you have the outcome. If it is hand, that means reward yourself. If it is tail, no reward this time. So if I open this, now I can see the goal, I can see the created time, there are no notes. If I go back to the Airtable base in the random rewards table, I can see that random reward being created and the coin toss being tail, so no reward at this time. But if it was hand, then I can also select the reward right here, and you can have a list of rewards in the rewards list. For example, these are 3 examples, and then once you have all of these here, you can select them from the random rewards table if you like. The random coin toss is random, so it is a formula. As you can see here, you can see how it is calculated, and it is based on the created time. And finally, in the user guide, you will find this video, the interface documentation, how to generate random rewards, the automations included. And that's pretty much it. That's the structure of the entire system in the Airtable base. So these tables are related with each other, and the goals table is the pillar of the entire system. And next up, we are looking at automations. In the automations tab, you can find on the left-hand side a list of the automations that are present and activated in this base. The first one sets the completion date of a goal to today, whenever you set the status of a goal to achieved. So that's pretty straightforward. When a record matches conditions, where the status is achieved and the date completed is empty, then update record in the table goals. The record ID is taken from the previous step here dynamically, and the date completed is the last edited date. The second automation in the list creates a new goal action tracking for each day in the goal. So this runs every day at 12:30 a.m. in your time zone in the Airtable account. And when it runs, it finds records in the goals table, and it finds in particular those records where the days of pursuit contains today. And this is a view in the goals table. Here there is a view, days of pursuit contains today. So this view just is here to facilitate that automation. So if this contains data, then here we have a loop. So it repeats for each record, because there might be multiple goals in that view. And for each record, it creates a goal action tracking. So in the goal action tracking table, it links the goal automatically from the previous step, and the date is the trigger time. So the date of creation, that is today, every time it runs. And that's it. That will then display that row, that record in the goal action tracking list, as well as in the interfaces. And finally, the random reward coin toss, we saw how it works. And when a button is clicked, this automation gets triggered. The button is in the interface that I showed you before here. And when that button is clicked, then it creates a new record in random rewards. It links the goal to the goal from where the button was clicked. And this concludes the list of the automations. If needed, feel free to edit them at any time. You can also create new automations from here. And finally, the last step is the interfaces. These are just visualizations of data. You are also free to edit them. In here, you can go to edit, and you will find the interface and the pages within that interface that you can edit here from the visual editor on the right hand side. The trackings completed by week is a chart that takes data from the goal trackings table, and on the x-axis there is the date that is organized by week, and on the y-axis there is the number of actions. And you can see that this graph is filtered by action done is checked. So it only counts the actions that have been done during that week. That's what the number is here. And then you can see at a high level the total completed trackings, so the ones marked as done, over the total trackings over time. And that's a percentage. That is 66.67% right now. And you can see total trackings logged overall. That concludes the overview of the goal setting toolkit in Airtable. You can find links in the description. If you have questions, drop them down below or let me know what you think about this and how it can be improved if you have any thoughts. For now, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.